to NTV's Issues and Answers. Our guest for the second half of our show is Jennifer McCreath, who is running for a brand new party in this election, the Strength in Democracy Party in the District of Avalon. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Well, first of all, this is a new party we're dealing with. It started off as Force Démocratie in Quebec, and they're spreading across the country now. So just tell us what Strength in Democracy is.
Basically, we got started about a year ago when one member of the Bloc and one member of the NDP felt they were being muzzled by their party leaders to the point where they were not able to represent their local constituents. And they came together, came up with this concept and idea, and pushed it forward. A new political party that does not have party lines and does not have party discipline, but one that will allow individual MPs and candidates to speak their mind and bring issues directly to Ottawa based on what they're hearing at home.
So you've been well known in the province as a transgender activist. You've been politically active with other parties before and at the municipal level. So what drew you to join this party now?
I felt it was time to stick my nose back into politics, and I literally took a look. There are actually 22 political parties registered in Canada. I looked at each and every one of them, and Strength in Democracy's concept stood out to me as being so unique and cutting edge. It's exactly the type of breath of fresh air that I think a lot of people in Avalon are looking for, especially in light of some of the controversies we've seen happen in this riding.
So what, I guess, concrete measures would the party take in Parliament to make sure that its MPs have a free voice?
Well, we openly encourage discussion and debate among caucus, as well as discussion and debate with other parties and even other political parties who do not have seats. Ultimately, we want to do a consensus-based decision-making model. So if there are issues that get raised, we communicate and we collaborate and work to get solutions rather than have fighting.
So would MPs be free to vote their conscience on various issues in Parliament?
Absolutely. I mean, ultimately, the MP's number one goal is to vote in the best interest of their constituents. And if elected, my plan would be to do as much consultation with the people of Avalon on whatever the issues are, and try to come up with a solution or a vote that works in their best interests.
So what are some of the party's policies on various issues? Like, for example, what is the party's policy on taxes?
I think ultimately we're looking at some sort of balanced approach. We want to specifically look at people in regional areas. Of course, this party was created by MPs in rural Quebec, and we are now running candidates in several other provinces, but mostly in regional and rural settings. So we want to make sure that people out in the rural areas are not being left out and not being forgotten, and that they are getting the services that they need to survive and strive.
And what about, say, like something, environmental issues? What is the Strength in Democracy Party's views of the environment?
We are quite concerned, I guess, with the direction Canada has gone with poor record of environmental issues. We want to improve that. We want to get back to the table. Same time, we have to do a careful balance. We know there's a lot of people in our riding of Avalon that work out in Alberta in the oil business, and we want to find a careful balance to ensure that the oil industry continues to do its best to improve, while at the same time we respect our commitments that we've made to the rest of the world on environmental issues.
So you're well known as a transgender activist. I guess what has the reception been like for you at the door as a transgender candidate in this election?
Well, initially I got a lot of national and international attention for that. It's kind of old news here in Newfoundland, though. People know who I am. I've been doing NTV interviews about trans issues for 9 years. So people haven't brought it up at all. They want to get right to the crux of the issue. Tell me about your party, Jennifer. Tell me how it differs from the other parties that have party lines and disciplines. And specifically, tell me what you can do for me in Ottawa that the others can't. And the reception about the model has been very positive. They like the fact that there's not going to be party discipline. They feel let down that a lot of MPs in the past have been essential puppets of their leaders and haven't had the freedom to bring the true issues to the table.
The party's origins are very interesting. It started in Quebec and now it's spreading across the country. It was an NDP and a former Bloc MP who started it. That origin with the Bloc Québécois, does that create any problems as far as what the party's position on sovereignty might be?
No, I think ultimately Jean-François Fortin, who left the Bloc, left because he felt the Bloc at the time was too focused on separation and not focused enough on a thriving Quebec in a united Canada. Ultimately, the goal, I believe, is to see Quebec and all provinces thrive, and the concept crosses boundaries, and we saw that in Peterborough when Tobin Leckie stepped up to the plate even before I came out as a candidate, recognizing the controversy with Dean Del Maestro, and felt this model will work in Kawartha, Peterborough, Ontario. I saw a need, and I saw an opportunity to bring it here to Avalon.
Well, on that note, we're just going to take a quick commercial break. Please stay with us. We'll be back with more of NTV's Issues and Answers. Welcome back to NTV's Issues and Answers. Our guest once again is Jennifer McCreath, who is running for the Strength and Democracy Party in the district of Avalon. Avalon has had a lot of drama in it in the past year between Scott Andrews being kicked out of the Liberal caucus and what happened with Ches Crosby being rejected by the Conservatives. What are your thoughts on how that's affecting the campaign in Avalon?
I think what it has done is angered a lot of the people in Avalon. They're seeing petty things interfere with what the issues are and what the candidates can bring to the table. Specifically, we're seeing Justin Trudeau and Stephen Harper's folks sticking their nose into Avalon's business. Ultimately, I think it's a great opportunity for some of the other parties out there, including our Strength and Democracy, who don't come to the table with that type of baggage, to bring a fresh scent of new concepts to the table. And I'm finding at the doors people are really receptive of that and are really excited to see something new like this out there.
The party is very new as a national force. We have seen Elizabeth May break through on some level nationally at the Greens, participating in one of the leaders' debates. Is that something that your leader seeks to do eventually to get recognized on the national stage at that level?
Absolutely. We feel we are a national party. We're running candidates so far in at least 3 provinces, hopefully 5 or 6 by the time we get to Election Day. We've got both Francophones and Anglophones. We've got rural and urban candidates. We have 3 sitting MPs. We even gained an MP after the writ was dropped, which is something that only us and the Greens have done. We now have the same amount of candidates as the Greens and even more than the Bloc. So I think it's only fair that if they get included, that we get included.
Some interesting piece about your own personal history. Your father was an MP. I guess tell me a little bit about that and how that, inspired you to get into politics.
I basically grew up with politics on one side of the family and public service on the other side of the family. And I had the opportunity to tag along with my father as a teenager and watch how he did everything from launching his campaign to being elected, being in office in Ottawa, watching him in question period, watching him deal with constituents' issues, and watching him as a cabinet minister.
Just tell us who he was. I believe he served in the Kim Campbell government.
Yeah, Peter McCreath represented the riding of South Shore, Nova Scotia, 1988 to 93. Elected under the Mulroney regime and was promoted to cabinet under the Campbell government.
So you did have some background in the PC party, and I believe you did support the PC party in this province at one point. Have you left them now completely for the Strength and Democracy Party?
I've never actually been a supporter of the federal PC party. I was a provincial supporter at one time in the past. I'm also a former card-holding NDP member. One thing I think that I learned from my dad in his era was the difference between the, quote, progressive Conservatives versus the Harper Conservatives. And I see 2 very different ideologies there. And I've openly reached out to people of the Avalon who like the older model, the progressive style, and say, look, Stephen Harper is probably going to run a candidate. I believe there is now a candidate. However, that's the Harper government's candidate. That's not necessarily a progressive conservative candidate.
Well, Jennifer McCreath, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
And that is it for this edition of NTV's Issues and Answers. Stay with us over the next couple of months as we continue to interview more candidates on the campaign trail in the federal election.